Okay. I've changed my block setup. And I'm going to show you what I've done, why I've done it, and how I plan to make it work. Behind me is my blocks. And I'm going to introduce you to the changes that I've done. I can't actually do any sprints because I've busted my ankle, for anyone that doesn't know. But the change all comes from this back block. So I'm gonna show it. So obviously the blocks have different heights. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is on the lowest level right now. It can go all the way up to here. It can actually come off, but it can go all the way up to here. This is too high. So I'll be talking about this. Reason being is, if you're doing blocks, it's very important to know how to set your blocks to the most optimal. This isn't optimal. When I first started sprinting, this is actually how I used to do my blocks. Because in my head, if I'm trying to go forwards, if the pedals look vertical, like this would be completely vertical, that means I can only go horizontal. But the issue with that is when you're in the blocks, you do need a certain level of vertical force. If that doesn't happen, you fall on your face. If you cannot support the angle you're trying to achieve, and to support that as vertical force, if you cannot support that, you either won't push, you'll pop up, or you'll fall on your face. There's no good answer to any of that. And pretty much no one in history can support an angle this high. Like, that where my hand is would be a fully vertical block setup. So just there is pretty much touching without much work. So you being back here, there is a level of lowness to this, but this is too high. This being too low, which is what I usually use to adopt, which isn't a bad thing. This is much better than being over here, because when you're down here, you can actually push. You might not feel stable, whatever, but you're gonna feel more control, comfort, and stability than you would up here. And that's for both pedals, but I'm only showing you the back pedal. So here's where it gets really interesting. When your foot is too low, you get more stretch from the calf, and you get more dorsiflexion from the foot, and that results in you not being able to push properly. You can push, but you're not going to be able to push off of what you want to be pushing from. I see 2 people have commented, or 1. Crazy Rhino. Oh, you know, Freddie RL, hello. Crazy Rhino, hi. I am Jevon. It's my name. I'm a sprinter, showing blocks, but I'm only talking about these pedals right now. What are you doing? You'll see. Just watch and see. So when the pedals is too low, you get, fix that. When the pedals are too low, you get more stretch from the foot. So the foot has to overwork. So I've been recommended to do mine like this, 1 up. That's the normal one, that's 1 up. And what that allows you to do is to push from the glutes, this general area, instead. So what I ended up doing today was 2 things. First thing was I played around with the back block setup. The next thing I did was play around with the arms. My arms are usually in this position, when they could be a bit further. So if I have them a bit further, what changes, as well as what changes with the block setting, is what I aim to figure out. pedals. This is a pedal, or whatever you want to call it. Pedal, pad, but it attaches to this thing, which is a sprint block. Use that to sprint from. I know some people that end up watching these lives aren't actually sprinters, so that happens sometimes. Are you alright? How are you? I've injured my left ankle. Otherwise, what day is today? Saturday. You might have been seeing me sprint today, which is sad. But no, sprinting is a good thing. The injury is sad. But what I ended up doing was playing around with the height of the back block and my hand positioning. So what I ended up noticing was I could do 4 things with that. The first thing was leave them how they normally are. I feel comfortable. I've actually got footage of it somewhere. I need to find my phone. I can't be honest about it. So for the first block, if you look at this leg, my foot would be in a block like this, pretty much straight. And then as I go through the phases of like the different times I could do, the leg would get more bent. I'm more optimal to that 130-degree angle. What is this bit about? It's about optimizing my block starts. Because I am quick. You guys, I only speak English. What? Anyway, this is my optimal block setup. I want to show you how that looks. I don't have a shirt on. I do not have a shirt on. But what you find is it's kind of like trying to push off a wall. It's very, very steep. So Mark's looks like that. Set looks like that. Very stiff. You're not going to be able to see the positioning probably because it's a front angle. That way is stairs, nothing over there. And it was so hard to set this up on the stairs to see the angle. I can't imagine if I had to live stream today. I actually prefer the other one now. Interesting. What are some of you guys saying? What happens if you said a red 500? I don't know. I might get money. I actually don't know. I'm a good streamer. I mean, I don't really stream much. I do this randomly every now and then. I'm actually more of a long form or short form content creator. I actually don't do streams much. When I do my live streams, it's mainly just to show what I've been doing. So, the reason why I'm doing this in the first place, for the few sprinters that may or may not be here, is when you sprint, you put a lot of effort into what you do out of the blocks. But very rarely is any effort actually put in on what you do in the blocks or how you set up the blocks to do what you're about to do outside, if that makes sense. So you do your 2 steps here, or your 1 step there, 2 steps there, your 3 steps for the back pedal. But how often do you look at the position of your arms? Because what we're really trying to do is be optimal when it comes to horizontal force. We're trying to go forwards. So if what you're doing isn't giving you an optimal push, you're doing something wrong. It's going to be taken from something. Because there's a good chance that maybe you're not coming out of the blocks well because the blocks aren't set up to let you come out well. Just like how I was talking about how if you have your block up this high, it's no wonder you can't break 12 seconds. I know that for a fact. When I used to have my blocks up like that. They were both max height and they would look like that. When they were like this, I could not break 12. The fastest I ran was 12.2. In all fairness, I think I had 200 or 300 meter races, and I was getting closer and closer. But even still, the fastest I ran like this was 12.2. Had I done that, just brought them all the way down, I would have had much more success. I would have been in the 11s. With my pedals down like this, the fastest I've ran is a 10.8. Windy, but a 10.8 nonetheless. So, another thing was when I first started sprinting, I used to have my arms out wide, like, just get in the middle. Used to have my arms out wide like that. Not when I first started, but after my first season, thinking Bolt did this, so this would work for me. Different arm lengths, different things to worry about. So now I have my arms much more closer because it's about setting myself up to move in the right manner. When I'm not set up in the right way to move, I'm going to have issues. But if I am set up well, I'm going to move much better. So when you're doing your run blocks, there's a few things to pay attention to. First thing is your blocks, the pedals, at a right distance for your leg lengths. Generally, you want to have 3 fingers from the line. So if I use my front knee, put it down in the blocks, this part would be the line. 3 fingers. I can comfortably get 3 fingers from the line without any issues. 3 or 2 fingers touching like that need to be in front of your knee, distant from the line. Is that right? And then the next thing is your back pedal actually a foot away from that front block? If it's not, you might need to push it back forward. So these are all things that you got to look at. Alongside that is the pedals, again, too high. Are your arms in too tight? There's a lot to look at. But you want to make sure that you can push from the mid-range, the mid-area. Because if you can't, you're going to run into issues. And this is coming from someone who runs 6'9" in the 60 and 10'8" in the 100. You could be running, or you could have the capability to be in the 10s. But if this isn't set up well, you're going to lose time. To give you some numbers, your top speed can be measured based off of what you're doing in the first second of your 100 meters, or any race, but the first second. So the speed you achieve within that first second would double that, and that's going to be your max velocity. So if you're in 1 second reaching 3 meters per second, you're going to be running at max 6 meters per second, maybe a bit more, maybe 7, barely. And that's going to be like 15, 16 seconds. In 100, it's not going to be anything fast. So if you can pay attention to the blocks to make sure that they don't get in the way, that way you can just focus on your technique. What if the height of these pedals is interfering in a way that's making it so that your first step is flat, or even your second step? Because the first 4 to 6 steps, depending on how good you are, would be directly influenced by how this is. So if this isn't very optimal for you, then you could be just flailing around for the 6 steps before you get comfortable and you're able to move properly, which is not optimal at all. If you're trying to qualify for the national championships, or maybe you're trying to get a medal at your county champs or your national champs or wherever, this could be it. It might seem the difference between a good one and a bad one, well, a good one and an average one could be about 0.03, 0.04, but the difference between a bad one and a good one could be as big as 0.1, even 0.2. It can really cut a lot of time off your race if you can just have this right. The 2-step, I've made a video about this before, but the 2-step, 3-step doesn't fit everyone. It might fit some. It generally fits people that are like 5'10", which is the average height for a sprinter, 5'9", 5'10". But people have different ways of being that tall. Maybe you have really long legs, maybe you have really long torso, which will change it. And if you're below that height or above that height, chances are that's not going to fit you. Because I don't even know why they use that specific thing for the feet, but whatever. That might not fit you. If you're an average person, it would, but it won't. Usain Bolt had his arms all the way over there. I have my arms all the way here. Someone else, most people actually tend to have their arms in relatively close, if not shoulder width, which is, if you look at this one, straight down, maybe slightly out to about there. But there's no reason to have your arms all the way separate like this if you don't need to. My arms are quite long. I have a wingspan of someone that's like 6'1", 6'2". I'm 5'11". So when you look at it from that perspective, there's a lot of different things to be worrying about in the blocks. Are you strong? If the most you could squat is like 40 kilograms, what's the point in having a certain block setup if it's not good enough for you? For example, there is a more optimal position for me in the blocks, which is having my arms like this. That's more optimal. But when I rise into set, I cannot support that. I'm not strong enough. It puts too much strain on my shoulders and my arms, and I can't feel enough force in my feet, because what you really want to do in the blocks is feel not much in your hands, but a lot in the front especially, and the back foot. Because when you're trying to come out, you're trying to come out with the arms, you're trying to come out with the feet. Because last I checked, a sprinter uses their legs to move fast and the arms as counterbalance. So if you can't use your legs to push out, what are you using to push out? Okay. Let me see what some of you guys are saying. Okay, Merit Petq 8821 says, am I invited to the Olympics? I am not. I'm working my way down. Someone said, someone wrote some kanji. I don't know what Jackson's saying. Junior Murray says, I'm 8. That's cool. Merit Petq, same guy, 8821 says, hi. I'm a good streamer. Thank you. Meripetscu 8821 says, are you a good runner? I'm all right. I wouldn't say I'm good. I could beat most people in a race, but when we get to the level that I'm at, you lose more races than you win. Am I famous? In the UK, I guess so. In my niche, I am. Jackson Maloney, thank you for being the first person to like. And hello again. Meripetq 8821, are you in England? I am. Lots of smiley faces, legs, an Olympic weight. Is that the snatch? I loved it in the snatch. Have you ever qualified or gotten a medal? My medals are behind this. I haven't qualified for any Olympics. If I did, we wouldn't be having just 3 people in the stream. Or like I think I saw at some point 24. You'd be seeing hundreds at least. I've gone to my national championships. This was last season. I didn't make it out of the heats. Close to getting to the semis. Had an injury, which kind of hampered everything. I destroyed my hamstring, my adductors. So it was even impressive that I managed to go. But I would be a national level sprinter. I've got these grades. Give me a sec. Okay, got my laptop because this is something that I find really interesting. I've got these grades that I use to rank everyone. So this is someone who cannot sprint to all the way someone who's Usain Bolt. And the tier is a tier list from, if I can find it, from S plus all the way down to I minus. So there's 1, 2, I can't just count all of it. But however many letters in the alphabet there is, times that by 3. How many letters it takes to get to I, times that by 3, because you've got, like if you use A for example, you've got A plus, A and A minus, just like how I think the Americans do their grading system. In that regard, if S plus is the best, and this would be someone who is running the world record, then I am F minus. So I'm not the greatest. I'm working my way up. I haven't been doing this for long. But I started at a ranking of, I believe it was, yeah, I minus. So I've worked my way all the way up to where I am now, which is a lot of work to do. A lot of time as well, and I'm always injured. I'm injured my knee, hamstring, and ankle innumerable times. The ankle innumerable times, the rest, not so much. But when it comes to the blocks, these are the things to be thinking about. Because often people just care about pushing out of it, but it's also about how to set yourself up to push out. So I'll show you a little trick to explain what I mean a bit better. So I'm gonna raise the block all the way to the highest level. And if you imagine, this is my back foot. If you look at the angle here, that's about 100 degrees, maybe 100 degrees. If I get the hips down, you can see that it starts to become 90 degrees. And that would be what you're expecting from the front leg, which is this leg. But from the back foot, you want it to be 130 degrees. So let's go all the way down to the bottom. Let's see what can happen if we know the top doesn't work. What happens if you have the bottom? So that, the leg's pretty much straight. I can straighten out, or I can have it slightly bent. But for the angle that this back foot's supposed to be at, it would be more like that a bit, more like that. So is there any angle that I can raise this to that can let me hit that? We go up one, let's see. A bit better. Maybe a bit too wide, maybe a bit too open. Go up one more, what about that? You can see a bit of a bend, but if I load it properly, we can get into the right angle. So that will show you, if I was standing, I'm trying to hit the right position, either 2 up or 1 up would allow me to hit the right position. And it's funny that I showed you this, because this is on either end is where I've done blocks before. I used to do blocks on the lowest setting, but before that I used to do blocks on the highest setting, like what I said. On the highest setting, you would see that I would be at 90 degrees with the back, with both feet, if even that. Whilst with the lowest setting, the back foot could often be straight. So having it raised up by 1 allows me, and would allow other people who might have the same issue to avoid that being a problem. So this is just a little talk that I had, live streams done. Just wanted to share the information, because we're always thinking about those first 50 steps if you're doing 100, because for most people they do the 100 meters between 50 to 60 steps. So everyone's always focused on those 50 or 60 steps, but no one's ever focused on what you're doing to get those 50 or 60 steps. Because ideally you want to be running the 100 in about 45 steps if you're a male, and about 50 steps if you're a female. And if the blocks is bad, it would mean you're going to take more steps, and that's not efficient. Scientifically, you want to achieve the highest possible velocity you can out of those blocks. You don't want to achieve the velocity late, you want to achieve it as early as you can. For the same reason why if you double what your top speed is by a second, that's going to be the fastest you're going to run for the entire race. Because whilst, yeah, you've got a whole second to reach half your max velocity, if you can reach a higher percentage of that velocity without even having taken a step onto the floor yet, what's that going to mean for you when you're racing? If you had the setup to measure the velocity you're achieving for every single one of your races, what would that be saying to you? What would that mean? Let's say you managed to get out, let's do some numbers, because I love doing numbers. So to To go sub 11, I believe you need to achieve 4 meters per second, 3 or 4 meters per second within the first second. So, do the calculator. 3 meters times 6. Sorry, what am I saying? 3 times 2 is 6. And then 100 divided by 6 is 60.6. So it wouldn't be 3. Let's try 4. 4 times 2 is 8. I don't know why I'm showing this simple maths. 100 divided by 8 is 12.5. So we still haven't found the speed we need to be at in the first second to achieve that, but it would be about 4. Reason why this isn't working is because you're going to reach that speed, hold it for a certain amount of time, and continue. But this is trying to give you your average speed over the whole thing. So we're going to have to be working with the average instead. So if you was to do 5, you reached 5 meters per second in the first second. Times that by 2, you get 10, obviously. Now 100 divided by 10 is 10. Simple maths. I don't think I need to show a calculator for that. I think everyone knows that. So that means if you want to go sub 12, you're going to need to be running about 4.3. I'd be a gamble. So that would be 8.6. 100 divided by 8.6 is 11.6. I just realized this is flipped, so you're probably not seeing this well, but 11.6. 11.6. So if you wanted to go sub 11, we're probably looking at 4.6. That would mean the total speed would be 9.2. 100 divided by 9.2 is 10.8. 10.8. So that would be showing you the type of numbers you're looking at. So let's use an example. Let's stick with the sub 11. Let's stick with the 4.6. So 4.6, that's what you're achieving in the first second. If you're able to achieve just an extra 0.1 out of the blocks without changing anything else, what would that mean for you? So plus 0.1, 4.7, times that by 2, 9.4. Now do the same maths, 100 divided by 9.4, you get 10.6. So from getting a tiny boost out of the blocks, just optimizing the setup of the blocks, not optimizing how you come out of the blocks, just the setup of the blocks. If you're able to achieve an extra 0.1, that could end up resulting in the difference between difference of 0.2 of a second in your 100 meters without you having to have done anything. So if you sprint, which I'm guessing the 3 people here either do or are considering because you've been here for a while, if you sprint and you get stuck at a barrier, say 12 or 11, those are usually the types of barriers where changing the block setup would work. 10, probably not. But if you're stuck at a barrier, either at fastest 11, and you're thinking, what can I do to let me go under that? Technique, yeah, obviously, you want to improve that. But what if you could do that without having to brute force it, without having to improve your technique? What if you could do that by just moving one thing up, moving your arms slightly apart or slightly in? Because what all of this does is it affects your hip height and it affects how much pressure you can put into the back block specifically, and also the front as well, but mainly the back pedal, because the more force you can put into there, the more you can push off of it, and the better you can push off of that, then obviously the more horizontal you can go. The back pedal is one of the main contributors to allowing you to have horizontal force. So if you can't push off of that well, you're not going to be as horizontal as you can be. And if you can have less unnecessary vertical force, which would mean you're more horizontal, then that's where you're going to be able to get that extra 0.1 or maybe even more meters per second from that first push, not even the first step. And if you can do that, that could be the difference between running a 10.8, 10.6, or an 11 flat and a 10.8 very easily. And this matters even more the slower you are. For example, if we do the same numbers for breaking 12, so this, what am I doing? 4.16, 4.17. That's the exact number, if we round up, we have to round up, with what you would need to run 12 flat. It's going to be slightly below. I should just do 4.16. So 4.16. I had to type it out to get rid of the extra sixes. 4.16. That's the number required to break, or to run 12 flat. We just need like a small increase to get us to an 11 second. What would this translate to if you added an extra 0.1? So that would be 4.2. Oh, let me just add it. That would be 4.26 times that by 2, 8.52. Now 100 divided by, pick the number, 100 divided by 8.52 gives you 11.7. So you could be saving 0.2 of a second to let you go sub 11, from 11 to 10.8. But you could be saving 0.3 of a second to go from 12 to 11.7. And what happens if you're running 13 seconds? So let's find out what would be the exact number. 7, well, we divide it by 2 first. 3.84. So we're going to get the exact number, 3.84. 3.84. We're going to add 0.1 times that by 2, 7.88. 100 divided by 7.88 gives you 12.69. 12.7, pretty much 12.6. So again, saving 0.3, but this time you're saving even more, because the other one for the 11 was like 11.79, but 11.7. This time is 12.69, so you're saving even more. The slower you are, the more this can add up to boosting you just by changing that block setup. So the next time you're with your coach and you're thinking about, I need to improve my acceleration, need to do this, need to do that, maybe take a look at the blocks. Maybe they're more inefficient than you think, because when you're running slow, it's not just about optimizing, it's about getting out of your own way, because you've got a lot of things that you think is going to help you run faster, but chances are those are wrong. When I first started, I was running 12, and I thought the higher up the blocks were, the more horizontal I'm going to be. If I'm trying to run in a straight line, that is good, but that is not good, because I didn't understand that vertical force had a place in the sprint at all, even in acceleration. And without that, I'm either not going to push well, or I'm just going to pop up, which is the two things that is exactly what happened when I was running. So if you can get out of your own way, then you can start to optimize, and then you can start to see those big jumps. So generally, live stream's done, but I hope I put something in your head, all of you, so you can think about what you could be doing if you want to be running these faster times, or if you're new and you want to be running fast and you want to get there as fast as you can, because a lot of the time it's not just about getting faster, it's about getting out of your own way.